Hello, everyone. My name is Kristin Snowden. I'm a licensed therapist in California, and I try to cover free webinars monthly to cover all things related to navigating relationship crises. Predominantly, these are crises that were created by uncovering a loved one's unknown addiction, betrayal, infidelity, or other kind of nefarious things that you didn't know were happening. Relationships that have a lot of gaslighting, manipulation, etc. I'm here to cover all the multifaceted things that you need to know to try to get you through to the other side. So today I'm running a lot of workshops right now. I run a few betrayed partners workshops, and I notice a common theme of betrayed partners just feeling really stuck. I hear the sentence, I want to leave, but, or should I stay or should I go? And they spend a lot of time obviously not only feeling tortured and struggling over the fact that they uncovered this horrible thing about their partner, maybe obsessive compulsive, problematic porn use, sexual acting out behaviors, affairs, spending money in ways that they didn't know about, substance abuse disorders, etc. And they're really finding themselves struggling over those new realities, but also just trying to figure out, what do I do about this? Where do I go from here? I don't know if I can stay here, and I really don't even know if I can go. So if you have those questions going on in your head, this webinar is for you, because I'm going to offer you several questions for you to ponder, things to consider, and maybe even bring up some things that you might have not thought about. So being betrayed by a trusted loved one can definitely be one of the most devastating, paralyzing, overwhelming experiences in your life. And the difficult part is that there can be so much shame, hurt, and fear related to leaving, the idea of just packing up and going and all that comes with that. And conversely, can be a lot of shame, fear, and hurt about staying, feeling embarrassed that you've hung in there, that you're still with this person, especially if the uncovering of the secrets happen in a very public way and your other family and friends know about what's going on. Um, a lot of betrayed partners that come to see me are at various stages in their relationship crisis post D-Day, and that's kind of what we call post Discovery Day, the day that I uncovered all these truths about my partner's addiction, my partner's behaviors, and sometimes there's multiple D-Days over time. So the various seasons that all these betrayed partners come to see me in are from, I just uncovered this addiction, everything's exploded, I want to leave, and I'm just trying to collect more information before I pack up and go. I don't think I can be here anymore. To maybe moving along down this process and feeling the feelings of, is there too much hurt, too much lying, too much pain that's been exchanged for us to ever repair? To some people being just so exhausted by the uncovering of the crisis and the chaos that's ensued that they can't even make a decision. Their higher functioning ability to decide how to move forward is just kind of shut down because their nervous system is so overloaded from all the trauma they've been exposed to. Some of the betrayed partners have partners who are fully committed to the recovery process. Maybe they're going to meetings, maybe they've been to treatment, but they just keep noting that change is moving along too slowly. Their partner's ability to empathize and understand is just going too slow. There's moments of little glimmers of hope, but then huge red flags that this isn't going to work. Sometimes there's partners who are not even at the place, the cheating partner, the betraying partner, where they're not even admitting that they have a problem. The betrayed partner has caught them red-handed. There's so much evidence that there's all these problems going on. The betrayed partner is unhappy, but the betraying partner, the addict partner, isn't even a place where he or she admits there's a problem. They're not willing to go to meetings, etc. And then another phase I see betrayed partners in is further down the road. Maybe their cheating or addict partner is doing everything in his or her power to repair. They've gone to the meetings, they've done the therapy, they continue to move along in life and work towards recovery and repair theoretically. But these betrayed partners are still kind of empty inside, saying, I don't know if this relationship is going to meet my needs. I don't know if this is the person that I want to be with. And I'm not sure that this is the marriage that I want to continue to walk through. So I just want to normalize all those different seasons of life. There is no blame and shame in staying, and there is no blame and shame in leaving. This is just simply a webinar that's acknowledging all the multifaceted stories that go on in your head, all the feelings that you have, the fact that one day you are calling a divorce attorney and you are ready to pack up and leave. And then a few things happen and you decide, okay, I can hang out a little bit longer. There is no blame or shame in any of those choices. So many of my betrayed partners who are sitting in that state of, well, I want to leave, but have several things that they're considering. Their kids, finances, logistical dependency. Maybe like it's just helpful to have another person in the household helping out. There's a mental and physical cost to actually leaving. They maybe can't afford the cost of divorce or separating or keeping two separate households. There's maybe moments and reasons of to have hope and glimmer that this relationship can change and that their partner can change. Or just even leaving the current relationship, as chaotic as it might be, as in crisis it might be, the idea of the betrayed partner going seems much worse, in that maybe they feel like, I don't want my kids to be around an active addict. Who is he or she going to bring around the household if I'm not supervising the situation? What are the lies that he or she is going to tell about me and our breakup to our family and friends? Whereas if I stay in this relationship, I feel like I have a little bit more control of that narrative. So just be mindful of these various things that are going on in your head and in your situation. So before I go over the list of things for you to consider and ponder about whether or not you should stay or go, I just want to be clear about this. If you find yourself extremely stressed and overwhelmed, feeling like you need to make a decision today, something has to happen today, remember that more likely than not, it doesn't have to happen today. You can just make a decision. Today I'm going to leave, or today I'm going to go, or today I'm going to show up in this way. And that can be enough. It might be just today, I'm going to make sure my kids get out to school. I'm going to make sure I eat. I'm going to make sure maybe I try to sleep or go to the gym or go to therapy. And that can be enough. You got to meet yourself where you're at. Don't be your own worst critic, and don't be your own worst judge about how quickly you should come to terms with these decisions. You can always leave. It doesn't have to be today. And I also want to emphasize the fact that the nature of living with an addict and someone who's been lying and sneaking around and gaslighting you and manipulating you can be very disorienting. You might be someone who normally, under normal circumstances, under other conditions, can be very decisive. You're probably extremely decisive about what you're going to make for dinner, what the kids need, what's best for them. You're great in your workplace and you can make great decisions in that environment. It's just in this relationship scenario where there can be so much confusing information. One minute your addict partner shows up this way, another minute they show up this way. They say these confusing things. They blame and shame you in ways that feel very confusing to you. So I want to really underline that this is so confusing because living with an addict, living with someone who's been kind of lying and manipulating and doing things behind your back has really gutted out your instincts and intuition and what your sense of normal is, what your sense of what's okay and what's not okay. So this is the list of things that I've kind of come up with that I explore with clients when they're in this state of figuring out, I want to leave, but first and foremost, your overall health and well-being. Safety is paramount. Are you suffering any physical threats or serious threats, or are your immediate loved ones, like your children or your immediate family, threatened in any way by staying in the home with your partner? Is there physical abuse? Is there regular emotional abuse, belittling, hurting? Are there threats being made? Are the choices that your addict partner is making regularly exposing you to more danger, whether it's, again, financial concerns, he or she's spending money in a very concerning way, or just continuing to make really poor, concerning questions at work or out there in the environment? Or is your safety being threatened because of the people he or she is associating with during his or her addictive behavior? Because as we kind of know, or as you've learned in this dark world of sexually acting out, or the paid sex community, there can be a lot of shady, scary characters out there in the World Wide Web, etc. And are you exposing your family and yourself to threats due to staying in that kind of environment? So please consider that, because safety is obviously paramount. Second thing to consider is, how has staying in this environment with your partner been impacting your mental and physical health? A lot of my clients, and I have so many videos about how betrayal trauma impacts your physical state, your brain wiring, all the systems in your body. Living in constant chaos, stress, you're not sure when the next hit's going to come, figuratively, when I'm going to be blindsided by uncovering another truth, a constant state of hypervigilance that I need to kind of check up on where my partner is. I don't believe a word he or she says. You have to kind of, as some clients say, like, be Sherlock and do detective work all the time. Being worried about when you're going to uncover the next relapse or the next lie. It is so much more than just an emotional roller coaster. There are physical consequences to staying in that state. There's people who get pancreatitis or irritable bowel syndrome, or get autoimmune diseases like fibromyalgia because of the constant state of stress. And not only that, but when your body is a constant state of stress, or maybe even your children feeling that indirectly, or those around you, it impacts your ability to show up in other relationships. So how does your mental and physical health trickle down into your other relationships outside of your partner, with your kids, how you show up at work, how you show up with friends? Or, as many of my betrayed partners say, they just start isolating, they pull away. So consider that. Third, your partner's patterns and recovery process. Assess where he or she is in that process. Where are they? Has he or she ever come clean? Has there been a willingness to admit what he or she has done, the gravity of his or her poor choices? Has your addict partner, your lying or cheating or betraying partner, owned that there's a problem, that he or she needs help to get out of this problem? Is there accountability? Have they stopped blaming and shaming behaviors on you? Maybe if you'd had sex with me enough, I wouldn't have gone out and gotten it somewhere else. Or if, I wasn't so stressed at work, or you didn't need so much time or money from me. I wouldn't have to go find solace in drinking or viewing porn, etc. Have all of those behaviors stopped? Is your partner willing to go to treatment, go to meetings, go to therapy? Has there been signs that your partner is willing to accept influence and learn that I can't do this alone? My best thinking got me into this crisis, got me into these really poor coping skills, these patterns of poor choices after poor choices after poor choices. And I need other people like 12-step community, appropriately trained therapists, treatment environments like Seeking Integrity, other men's groups to pull me out, to keep me on the right path. And it's okay, by the way, if the pattern is in his or her recovery process, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. That is often how it goes. There's just usually not a straight trajectory to like, yeah, I have a problem, I'm going to go get help. It goes a few steps forward and then a little bit, maybe not a obvious relapse, but maybe just old addicty behaviors, lies, thinking around manipulation, some blaming and shaming, etc. Fourth question to ponder: what does your support network look like? Do you have the people and help around you to get you through this crisis? Some people will often be stuck and continue to stay stuck, as I call it, in like this purgatory state, because they don't have the support group to lean into to help them get out of this disorienting state that crisis puts you in. Not just crisis in general, but crisis with an addict. Because again, like I said, there's a lot of lying, manipulation. They can make you feel like it's your fault, like you created this problem, and you really need to be in a group of people who are struggling in a similar way, other betrayed partners. You need to be around those people to help you move through the confusion, the paralysis, the crisis, and into a state of figuring out how you want to move forward. And I just want to emphasize, every day that you're sitting and pondering these questions in a group setting, just kind of talking them out, feeling stuck, hearing another person be stuck, maybe talk to another person in the betrayed partners group who has managed to not only survive, but have moments and glimmers of thriving. You are moving forward. You might feel like, oh, I haven't decided about divorce, or I haven't decided about, yes, I'm definitely staying. You might feel like you're not moving forward because you haven't made some big, overwhelming, decisive decision. But every time you sit in these groups, I promise you, because I watch it every day when I'm running my own groups, these betrayed partners just showing up, talking it out, processing, hearing other people's stories, supporting them getting supported, they are moving forward. You cannot be stagnant when you're doing that process. It's just the way the brain works. Hearing other people's stories, having feelings about what's going on in someone else's life, learning what someone else has done to get through something, share something with another person. It is the state of moving through the crisis, and you will eventually figure out how you want to move forward in the relationship. Also, being in a support network of people, well-trained therapists, support groups, friends and family that are appropriate listeners and supporters. Having those people around you will help you with accountability. They'll help remind you what your value and worth is when when you're really struggling with those questions. It'll remind you of promises that you've made to yourself, to your family, to others. And you just really need that external source to help pull you out of these stuck moments. So number 5, something to consider when you're figuring out if you want to stay or go, is your financial situation. After the dust is settled, obviously this can be very disorienting, but some betrayed partners feel paralyzed by the finances. Getting divorced, separating, having 2 separate households is very expensive. On top, by the way, all the treatment, going to therapy, all that kind of stuff. It's very, very expensive. It's a huge consideration. But have you taken the time to really sit down and assess what your financial situation is? Do you know where the money is? Do you know the bank account? What kind of control and power can you assert in the financial situation? Are there steps you can take to make yourself feel safer financially? I can't answer those questions, but hopefully you can start figuring that out. Then the next question is, are there children involved? Sometimes people stay in the relationship because they are just not ready to see their kids 50% of the time, or relinquish their children to a partner that they don't feel like is a very safe person. That's okay too. But also be asking yourself, how has the children staying in this kind of chaotic crisis environment impacted them? How has it impacted your body and your ability to show up as their parent? And just consider that. That's not something to blame and shame you on. It's just something to consider. There is a cost to leaving and possibly seeing your kids 50% of the time, for sure. There's also a cost of your body and your mind and how you can show up as a parent when you feel a constant sense of anger, resentment, fear, hurt, feeling like you need to be the detective, feeling like your partner triggers you and makes you so angry, etc. So consider that. The next question to consider: are any of your needs being met in this relationship? And being in this relationship, are you able to stay aligned with your own values and goals? So put the mirror on yourself. When crisis hits, we look external. Your partner is making all these bad choices. Is he or she going to get help? Is he or she going to change his behavior? Are they doing the right thing? Oh my gosh, they just blew up another situation. We were making right. So there's a lot of external focus. But when we're pondering, should I stay or go? You also have to look inside. Are any of your needs being met by staying in this relationship? And are you able to live in alignment with your values and goals while you are staying in this relationship? And I have some exercises. If, by the way, the disorienting nature of being in crisis have thrown off what are your values and goals, I have some exercises on my website, KristinSnowden.com, about figuring that out. Who am I? What am I? What do I want my life to look like? What do I need, etc. Next question, regarding should I stay or go? Have other boundaries and consequences that you've set up not worked up to this point? Can the act of you leaving create a significant enough consequence in your addict partner's life that maybe it's an intervention that might help your partner realize the gravity of his or her actions? So again, this isn't any kind of blaming and shaming. That you staying in this relationship is maybe making it too comfortable for your partner or whatever. I listed a million reasons why you can stay in this relationship. But something else to consider is, could perhaps me leaving be a significant enough consequence that might shake my partner awake? Have him or her experience enough discomfort, enough life disruption, enough disorientation that he or she has to turn the mirror on his or herself and take a look at what's going on with his or her choices? What have I done? Because sometimes, again, your addict partner spending so much time focusing external about how, he or she's been victimized, how he or she's entitled to do this behavior because, and sometimes leaving and removing yourself from the chaos kind of just leaves them with their own thoughts and their own consequences and their own behaviors. The question that kind of goes underneath all of that is, What do you think your partner is getting from staying? Why are they still in the house? Why are they still doing this? Why are they still in the relationship? What are they getting from this scenario? Do you know the answer to that? Have they given you the answer to that? That's an interesting question to ask. And lastly, I always ask this because this is important to know. It's what bridges the dark seasons in a long-term relationship. Is there a foundation of love or respect or hope in your partner and in this marriage versus maybe there's a foundation of just me feeling paralyzed and afraid and hurt and angry? Dr. John Gottman wrote this really great book that's called What Makes Love Last. And at the end of his book, he kind of gives this quiz that asks, is it time to leave? You know, these are some things to consider about, is this relationship working? There's been betrayal, you're trying to repair, but is it time to leave? And he asked so many really great questions that I'm going to kind of just fire off to you for you to list and consider. How often do you feel disappointed in this relationship? How much of this relationship, in the longevity of the relationship, have you felt disappointed? Do you like any of your partner's traits or characteristics? Are there parts of your partner you still actually like or value? Do you have positive memories of your life with your partner? Again, either previously before D-Day or now in this recovery process. Is your life with your partner predominantly chaotic? Is there a long history, again, pre-D-Day, after D-Day, a history of extreme chaos, feeling blindsided, feeling like you've kind of suffered due to your partner's poor choices, etc.? Do you feel like your partner is predominantly, or as some betrayed partners say, constantly, compulsively, and obsessively selfish? Do you feel like they're incapable of considering you, having empathy for you, having empathy and responsibility for themselves and how they show up, and empathy for you? Does the relationship have a high level of belittling, mockery, name calling, just hurtful, emotionally abusive type behaviors? Are there any times in your relationship where you can be a teammate with your partner? Again, before D-Day, after D-Day, are there times where you can still act like you are partners, teammates? Do you like spending time with your partner at all? Are there moments where you have connections with him or her? Are there moments where there is a level of emotional or physical intimacy or affection? Again, maybe before, maybe after, maybe glimmers of it here and now and again. Moments. We're looking for just glimmers, little slivers of them here. Do you think this struggle and the work that you're having to put into repairing this relationship, do you feel like it is worth it in the end? Do you feel like your partner seems to love you? Or are there any actions he or she does to make you feel loved or make you feel like he or she is committed to repairing this? Do you feel like your partner hurts you on purpose? Do you feel like your partner respects you? These are all really great questions to ask when you're trying to decide whether or not you should stay or go. What I always tell clients to just close out is that when clients are saying, I'm not sure if I want to stay, if I want to leave, I don't know what to do. First of all, I always say, I I've watched this happen a million times, and it happens very organically. The more you talk about it, the more you lean into your group of support, you will come to these decisions organically. But the other thing I always say is if you decide to leave, don't ever leave a relationship because you think there's something better out there. I don't really find that to be helpful, to think there's going to be some other partner or some other scenario that's going to fix my wounds and help me heal. I always say that one should leave just because they can't be here anymore. They can't be in this environment. They can't be in the space with this person anymore. And that's usually a more productive, healthier framework from which to move through to the other side. Again, my heart goes out to anybody that is in this space because it is a painful, painful place to be. But I do encourage you to find a betrayed partners group, people who do suffer and struggle in a similar way. Maybe they're further down the line. Maybe they can offer you support. You can offer them support. I have live workshops like that on KristinSnowden.com. Seeking Integrity has so many great groups. There's really great groups and places and spaces for people. And I think that's going to be one of the most important steps you take to move you through this big question of should I stay or should I go? And that's it.
It's great stuff, and it really is, a question, and we hear this often. And you talked about it. There is zero judgment. Everybody's making their own choices, and so this is great information. I was thinking, as you're even asking the questions, they're not all of equal weight. It's not, like some of them, like that's more high value, like with children or whatever. Like there could be something that is a bigger deal. So it isn't like, well, I scored a 3, like this is not a, a magazine, quiz. This is like your life. But I think just having the ability to reflect on these and to really pay attention to, like, because you're right, it's easy to get all trapped up in the chaos and and all the external things, and to be, willing to, and, I would encourage journaling, because I think if you are writing out this, information, you're going to get probably more to your heart truth than, the headspace stuff. I was thinking, with number 5, and I think with the children too, the 5 is the financial situation. Many people, it's fear, like they haven't investigated what it would look like. And so, get the right professionals. You can consult divorce attorneys and get information. You never have to do anything with it, but then you're an informed consumer, so to speak. And same with children. If there's children, of a certain age, especially young children, then, the things really vary, state to state, country to country. I was talking to somebody, outside the US, and the laws and how things happen are different. You need to know, and having that information rather than having it, do the tennis match in your head where, like you're going, I don't know. I was thinking, though, it's also, like, yeah, I don't have to decide today, but it's also can be kind of the trap. So I think it's really important to ask these questions and probably re-ask them like every, so often, and see if you're seeing, some progress. Because, like, do you visualize 3 years from now, if things are the same, are you okay? And you could be great, all good, but I think it's helpful to kind of have some gauges as to what could be useful. But I love these. I was laughing a bit when is your person able to not be selfish? And I was like, early on, that question's going to be no, they're always selfish, always, so I think it is it's a gauge, if you are seeing progress, and like you said, some forward movement, some back, but you're seeing, I often use here we are as a couple, and if we're moving towards each other, it won't be a straight path. It's not linear. It's not like, we do everything perfectly, but we can make progress. And if you're seeing, well, I'm working towards this, but my partner isn't, that's more data. And I think a lot of it is, and you're right, there's the shame of staying or going, particularly when people know but also the isolation. I haven't told anyone about this and I'm feeling so alone, and I'm trying,
Right.
so get help. So glad you're here. Get help. This is going to be posted on the, on the website, too. So we've got some questions. I'm the addict trying to support my partner and repair our relationship. How do I anticipate what she needs for reassurance? I don't want to wait to be told what she needs to hear, but I'm struggling to find the right words at the right time. After the fact, it seems so obvious, but in the moment, I don't know what to say. Great question. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you're here, which
Mhm.
is magnificent. Because again, speaking of group work, I think you start hearing things and you feel paralyzed with how do I show up? What do I say? I don't know what to do with my hands. But the more you do this group work, you hear other people's stories, you hear something that's maybe highly supportive, highly empathetic, and you go, oh, that was easy. The person just said, I get it. I hear you. I understand why you're so stressed. Um, Most betrayed partners want to feel loved, they want to feel supported, and they don't want you to feel like make them feel like they're weird or wrong, that they have all these questions because they've been lied to and deceived, and so much of their life just doesn't make sense anymore. And by the way, they don't just question like the incidences where you were lying or sneaking around. They just apply a general wide swath that like maybe everybody's lying. Maybe I'm the only one that is, being in the center of this whole made up world where everybody's manipulating me and I have no ability to determine who's bad and good in this world. So being patient with your partner while they ask all these questions, and say, yeah, it must have made you feel really unsafe. How can I help you feel safe? That's the most important thing, is that you just hang in there. You empathize with the fact that if they're asking all these questions and they look dysregulated, it's because they're in a state of feeling unsafe and they need reassurance from you. They need support from you.
And I was thinking, when's a really good time to talk about this? When you're not in the middle of this. Ask your partner, like because it'll happen again. So when we get into this, what would be most useful? If like
Yeah.
let your partner say what would be, like I was talking to somebody the other day, and what the person was saying, it was really benign, but the other person, was triggered by it. And I was like, write out what you want to hear. And then like, you guys can read to each other. This is what would be in the moment. I'm giving you permission to ask me this. And then it's their words. And so I think that there are ways to navigate this where you aren't going like, oh, what if I say it wrong? What if I do it wrong? Your anxiety will be up. But if you, like Kristin said, be present, I see this. I see that, it appears you are upset. Is that accurate? She was doing some reflective, like ask, you know, but also ask when it's not in the moment so that you can have a real conversation about, when we get into this, what are you looking for, so that I, can try to show up for you in a way that's meaningful. But like Kristin said, glad you're here. This is a journey. You won't get it all right. And you get more information and you try something a little different the next time.
Yeah, and let me just say, because
Hmm.
this person was also saying, I'm not sure the right words and I
Hmm.
don't know what to say, is when your partner's sharing with you, you can kind of do one of three things, or all of the three things, which is just listen to
Hmm.
understand, or your partner might want you to respond and answer some questions, or your partner might want you to act, do something differently, give them a hug, um, something like that. They, like it or not, in that moment, their nervous system might be telling them they need this or they don't need this. So you have to kind of ask, do you want me to just be a listener? Do you need me to say anything? Do you want to hear what my thought process was when I did that? You look really upset. Can I hug you? Those are all just kind of questions in the moment that you have to ask to understand what they need. I know it doesn't sound very romantic, but there's no mind reading in healthy relationships. It's really just kind of a biofeedback loop system. And you're saying, okay, you look dysregulated. You look like you're not feeling safe right now. What do you need from me to help you?
And if you say, "Can I give you a hug?" and your partner says, "No," don't take it personally. I mean, like this is, or don't go, "Well, I've tried everything." Like, don't throw up your hands and go, like, "I've tried. I can't. I just can't." Like, don't give up. Try something else. And it's not personal. It's like in that moment, that's not what that person needs. Okay, I, there's other options. So, we're like, I think the big point is you want to be in a relationship. I hear that in this. I want to be a support for my partner. And, I don't really know what I'm doing, of course. So, but we want to be in a relationship. That's the good news. So then, if you're, like I said here, then, how do you navigate that space, one day at a time by, taking little steps and, doing the best you can. But really glad you're here asking. And hopefully your partner's
Mhm.
also got support, as well. So, okay, Kristin, how common is it for addicts to never blame and shame their partner or get angry or defensive? Rather, they always say what you think their partners want to hear. "You're so right. I'm so awful." Oh, we hear this. I'll stop, but they never mean it or act on it. Is it a sign of someone who actually gets it and is struggling, or is this often just manipulation?
Um, we hear it all the time. This is extremely common. Sometimes it is a form of manipulation, but I hope you realize just even from hearing the question that just was written right before that from the addict, it's actually sometimes they don't know. And that their former behavior was maybe to blame and shame, and they've been told they can't do that now. So they can't really do real empathy and compassion. Like they haven't quite learned that higher functioning. So they've just kind of learned the script for it. Okay, yeah, I'm bad. I'm horrible. Sure. You're right. And that doesn't mean, by the way, that if they say it as if they're just reading a script, that it's actually not penetrating their soul and they're not feeling terrible for what they've done. They just don't know how to translate it. They don't know how to take out the Rosetta Stone and say, God, what she's saying here, she's saying to me is really burning me and hurting me inside. How do I reflect that appropriately and accurately back to my betrayed partner? They don't have those kind of higher functioning emotional intelligence skills. So they'll use sarcasm, like, yeah, I'm bad. Yeah, sure, I'll be better. Because they're just trying to deflect the pain. But it's very common for addicts to first and often blame and shame their partner and become angry and defensive. And then usually when they start learning that that's kind of that it is abusive, that it is not going to be effective in repairing and healing the relationship, that they need to listen to this stuff and let it kind of penetrate and change their soul. Um, the next phase will then be them just mimicking in like a script, like an ingenuine script of like, yeah, okay, I feel bad. I'm sorry. And then the next step after that will be them actually being able to let it get past their defense mechanisms, let them kind of feel the shame and hurt of what's really happened and the like, wow, I am capable of being a pretty horrible person. I can, and not by horrible person, I should say, be someone who can be very selfish and not think about how my behaviors and choices are harming somebody else, and look at the pain that I have caused by my choices, on my wife or husband's face and how they're struggling. And then once they build up that tolerance, that ego strength, discomfort tolerance in their bodies, then they can give a genuine response.
And this is just like you were saying, this is still selfish. This is still all about, I'm going to use him. Um, oh, I'm so awful, and I'll stop. All of this is just lip service, but you said there's no action. So in that moment, be okay. What is your plan for change? Because nothing changes if nothing changes, and like the definition of insanity is doing the same things expecting something to be different. It doesn't. Like this, this will be a pattern you guys can continue. Oh yeah, I'm so awful. You say something, oh, I'm so awful, I'll stop. Doesn't do it, doesn't change. Repeat, repeat, repeat. And you can do that, for years or decades. Or you can go, my healthy boundary is, if you are choosing to, continue to do these things, then I'm going to go take care of me and blah, blah, blah. And, boundaries are not punishment. They're not control. It is, I have these needs. You are not showing up in a safe way for me to meet my needs. So therefore, I am the only one that can take care of me, and I'm going to. But focusing, like I had highlighted too on your, the accountability for partners, it's the internal boundaries. It's focusing on what do I need to take care of me, rather than focusing on an addict who's up and down in an active addiction, probably, because it doesn't sound like there's any change going on. So then what is it you need to do so that you are okay, regardless of what that person is doing or not doing? Otherwise, I mean, you are always at the mercy of someone else. If the only day you're going to have is a good day is if that person is showing up and doing what they're supposed to do. Well, that's really, a gamble. So, okay, the next one. Thank you for the Zoom. Married 14 years, D-Day 12 years ago. We only started the process with CSATs 3 years ago. I've been going to groups and seeing my CSAT all along and getting stronger. My SA husband went on and off slips and relapsed every few months. I was feeling so unsafe. So 8 months ago, I had enough and told my husband, if he does not get into recovery and has a relapse again and does not tell me within 24 hours, I will separate. And sure enough, he stopped going to his CSAT and then relapsed. So we have been separated for 8 months. I'm feeling so much safer, even though he is not in recovery or sober. I don't want to divorce because he comes to see the kids. He helps with shopping and rent. But is this the right thing for my kids, myself, and my husband? I don't want to hold him back. Am I enabling him? Complicated question.
Right. I appreciate you sharing this story, because I think, well, I personally have a lot of betrayed partners that are in this in-between state, right? They're not fully 100% divorced and kind of moving on with their life, whatever that may look like. But they're also not living as an entire family unit together, kind of as we understand that family unit to be. I don't know enough about you, your kids, your husband to know how it is impacting all of your emotional well-being. But I do think it's a pretty significant sign that you said, hey, ball's in your court. I have to leave with the kids if you don't get sober. And his choice was to stop getting help and relapsing. So I hear that it's extremely reasonable after, 12 years of going through this back and forth for you to separate. And the biggest thing I hear is that you feel so much safer, because someone who has a nervous system that feels safer, that doesn't have to feel blindsided all the time or super angry that your partner relapsed again, or feeling like you have to be a detective and figure out what the truth really is, tends to be able to show up better for their children or in their workplace, or develop other healthier relationships in their own life and have a general better sense of well-being. So I guess my question is what are you worried about happening here by living in these circumstances? What are you worried about? And I like that you're still in groups, because you can be asking these questions about how this is impacting your kids, yourself, your partner. As far as enabling, I really don't like the term enabling. It's, we love people and we're in relationship with people and we act accordingly around that. So.
Yeah. And I'm assuming your kids are, relatively young, because you've been married for 14 years. So they're younger, kids. And I think I'm curious what you see, are they feeling calmer and more settled living, having the separate homes? I think it's also fair, to ask your, husband, what is the plan? And again, no, you guys get to pick. And, if you stay in this situation and it's working for all of you, rock on. But, if you're kind of wondering, it's like having the conversation of are we, going to continue to do this until kids are all out of the house, or, what is the plan? And does he have any interest in reuniting, and what would he actually be willing to do, not give lip service to, in order to reunite. So I think that there's some, there's some things that you can be looking at. I love these questions that, Kristin have. This will be posted on our website later today. Go back and listen to them if you missed some of them. You can be pondering, each of those for yourself for the moment. And again, in 3 months, if you want to look at it again and see it's all good. So, but I love that you are finding safety. You are taking care of you and your kids. So things for you in this moment sound like they're overall working for you. So.
Yeah, and the sentence I want to reflect on quickly is that you don't want to hold him back. Your husband gets to decide if he wants recovery, if he wants to stop the insanity of his poor choices and his poor coping skills and regain a sense of value and worth and an agency in his life. He's had ample time, ample support. I don't hear in this story that you're holding him back in any way. He has choices. 12-step meetings are free. Getting a sponsor is free. Working the steps are all free. Leaning into a group of guys who might have suffered and struggled in the same way he has, but they've gotten through it and they have, robust relationships and healthy connections and a healthy connection with themselves is all accessible for free. He could choose to tap into that and let it change his soul, or he can choose to suffer the consequences of his actions, which means he only gets to have superficial connections with his children and his wife because he doesn't get to be fully a part of their lives because he just lies and sneaks around and relapses too much. So,
well, and I'm gonna. He isn't relapsing. He's never had any kind of recovery. Like he's just on the cycle of addiction, and it's really challenging because I feel immense sadness for him, and in this in this scenario, you're doing good. You're doing good. But he has his head down, and I'm gonna keep hanging on to this meaningless stuff. Active addiction is meaningless. It's intensity, and we just can't get our heads out of the sand, to see what we're missing out on. We're so intent on hanging on to something that has no value. The relationships with family, with loved ones, people who care about us, that is meaningful. And, he's got his head in the sand. So, okay. It looks like my husband genuinely desires to improve, but he's facing numerous challenges that require addressing. He seems indecisive about seeking therapy consistently. What counseling course do you suggest we take? He's receptive to options available on your website because he feels there is no judgment. We've been married for 11 years, have 4 kids, and he has struggled with multiple incidences of infidelity and various addictions. I moved out for 2 years, returned recently, only just to discover he's been secretly meeting and talking to other women. This is so tiring. We have a residential treatment program. I mean, like with this, you moved out, I'm going to say manipulated you to, oh, look, everything's good. And so you trustingly came back and nothing's changed. So we have a 14, 21, or 28-day length of stay. He's probably a 21-day, not a 14-day length of stay, but it's not just about stopping the problematic behaviors. It's about addressing the underlying issues and taking accountability and responsibility and having a plan and the support to be successful with it afterwards. He can, and the reason I go there, not everybody needs residential treatment, but he's indecisive about seeking therapy consistently. That is someone who's unlikely to start going, oh, now I get it, and I'm going to go to 90 12-step meetings in 90 days. I'm going to do the Seeking Integrity online work group for Sex Addiction 101. And, I'm going to show up for these. I'm going to do my homework. Like that is not what I'm hearing and reading this. And I know it's just a snippet and I may have it completely wrong, but somebody who needs, we do 4 to 5 hours of assessment with the guys before they come in, because we're looking at all of those things, and we can help him be on a path to be consistent, have an aftercare plan, and we have family support. We have a family specialist that supports you. But I go back to, this is so tiring. And what are you doing to take care of you, knowing that nothing has changed? The 2 years you were gone, nothing changed. And so So for you, like Kristin said, sometimes it's like, I'm yeah, whatever you decide again, but like at some point it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna play in the sandbox. This is just too hurtful. You got kids, so yeah. Anyway, so Kristin, thoughts?
No, I was going to turn it to you because I feel like you are the one to talk about all the treatment options that are out there. There are a plethora of options for him because there's no doubt he requires a higher level of care for the reasons that Tammy laid out. Um, and I too would recommend that he do some inpatient care because, again, being in that intense group environment focused on these issues really helps cut through denial, justification, all the defense mechanisms that we use. Oh, I'm not that bad. This is my addiction. It's not hurting my family. All these lies that addicts tend to tell themselves. Being in a treatment center, dealing with this on a regular basis really cuts through that stuff. So you might know after those 21 days, does he actually mean business or not, depending on how he comes out. What I always tell betrayed partners that I look for is a level of the acting out partner's humbleness and surrender. So meaning my best thinking got me here, so I really have to lean into a higher power and a group of people to run things by. I have a really poor decision making tree. I just don't, my thought process is broken and I need to lean into other people to help me make the right choices and learn empathy and compassion and how to live healthily, live life on life's terms in a healthy way. And I completely lost my train of thought, but those are the things that I look for. Oh, and the surrender is this idea that, okay, I'm going to accept influence, that I'm going to listen to other people because they might know a little bit more than I do. And maybe I need to learn a thing or two. So those are the big things I look for: humbleness and surrender. And those are signs that they're not just checking things off the box, like I say, superficial, behavior changes to just kind of please you and get you back at the house and get you to stop nagging them, but actually like deeper soul changes.
Well, and to your point, we have 2 alumni groups that meet online because we've got guys literally from all over the world that have participated in our residential program, and that's all we do, But they are there. About 100 guys a week are online with Dr. Rob and others from our team, talking about how do we live, how do we show up, in the real world, So they're doing the ongoing work. There's an opportunity. It's life changing for those that choose it. And just like Kristin said, we do get people who come to treatment and they're they really have no commitment to changing. They want to continue to do what they want to do, checking off a box to go to treatment, get like you said, nagging. We don't it isn't nagging. You're just going, I'm looking for safety, I'm looking for you to show up, but it's it feels like nagging to them. So I'll get you off my back, I'll go do this, but even those that come in reluctant, I got to tell you, a lot of them get the light bulb moment where they're going, oh, there is a different way to live. Oh, there are tools to use that I can help that help me show up in a different way. So we are out of time. That was like perfect timing. So thank you all. Great to see you as always. We'll see you in 2 months. David Fawcett does the second week of the month on the even month. This month, Troy Love will be the 3rd week and Dr. Eddie the 4th week. And we have a special Wednesday morning for the 5th week because there's a 5th week this month. So watch the schedule. There's some flips on it, but this recording, and I will invite you go back and re-listen to this because all of those questions would be great to capture if you missed anything, and I'll make sure this one gets posted yet today. So thank you, Kristin. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us. Bye.